The last message from the Vargathi fleet was a scream. No coordinates, no tactical data, no goodbye, just a high-pitched, static-laced scream that lasted exactly 9.7 seconds before the transmission cut to black. Official records dismissed it as a solar flare anomaly. But I knew better. I'm Dr. Lira Malkov, xenolinguist and galactic historian. 36 years old, born in the Arctic ruins of New Toronto, raised among fragments of satellites and forgotten languages. I've spent my life translating dead empires, finding truth in the pauses between words. And the truth was whispering from the shadows of a forgotten invasion. The data shard was illegal. Smuggled in the lining of a trader's boot, chipped and half-burned, barely readable. But what it contained wasn't just a curiosity, it was the first proof that the Vargathi Empire did try to conquer Earth. The files weren't standard archive logs, they were personal recordings. Command logs. Frantic reports. A stammering lieutenant describing soldiers clawing their helmets off mid-vacuum. A general weeping over coordinates pointing to an orbit just beyond Mars. That's where the vortical vanished. And no one, for over 2,000 years, had dared go near it. Cosmos, prep the pod. Mars orbit. Tight window. Dr. Malkov, the AI said, voice clipped and synthetic, your current permit does not allow unauthorized orbital insertion. Mars is under restricted airspace by Galactic Accord 23 Alpha. I'm aware. Override with Protocol Obsidian Ember. A pause. Then, authorization acknowledged. That directive was buried 12 layers beneath your neural key. May I ask, what are you chasing? I hesitated. Then answered, silence. My orbital pod was little more than a compressed shell wrapped in retrothrusters and shielding mesh. Not exactly military grade, but good enough for a suicidal academic. The launch from Earth's surface was rough, but my adrenaline burned hotter than the G-forces. 14 hours later, I drifted silently above Mars, staring into the abyss. There it was. The vortical. A carcass of a ship, long and narrow, its hull torn but intact. No distress beacon. No movement. Just a faint pulse, one signal, on an old Terran frequency. I locked onto the source. The word it was repeating chilled me to my core. Run. Docking was crude. The vortical's bay doors were warped, half-fused. I used a plasma saw to breach the outer seal, forcing my way in through a maintenance shaft. Inside, silence greeted me like a held breath. The walls were scorched. Panels twisted. Light flickered, organic and alien, pulsing red and green like a heartbeat out of rhythm. No bodies. No bones. Just shadows. My helmet camera clicked on. Cosmos, record everything. Recording. Caution, environmental anomalies detected. Recommend withdrawal. Not yet. I moved deeper, stepping over brittle shards that once might have been armor. The ship felt wrong, like it didn't want me here. Like it remembered what happened. Then I found the command bridge. A massive chamber, dark and half-submerged in flickering blue fog. The control altar was cracked, yet operational. I slid the data spike into the port. The screen pulsed once. Then the log began. Vargathi Invasion Report, Admiral Chiron. Day 1, we approach Earth with superiority in numbers and firepower. The species appears disorganized, socially fragmented. Intelligence suggests minimal planetary defense. Invasion will be swift. Day 2, several dropships return without crews. No damage. Just empty. The drones show them walking into forests. Smiling. Day 3, they've begun humming something. Even our AI systems repeat it. Fleet morale compromised. Crew requesting isolation. Day 4, I dream of fire. Cities screaming. But they're still standing. Why won't they break? The log ended there. But something else had triggered. A new transmission. Live. A hologram flickered into existence. Tall. Cold. Vargathi. Commander Vargathi. Dr. Lira Malkov, he said, eyes narrowing. You've trespassed on a sealed quarantine zone. Exit immediately, and you will not be harmed. I swallowed hard. You tried to erase history. That scream, what was it? That scream, he said slowly, was a mercy. I want answers, I said. Why Earth? Why did your fleet disappear? Because your planet isn't a battlefield, it's a trap, he said. You breathe madness. You sing violence. Your species does not fight wars, Doctor. You infect them. His image began to distort, signal jittering. You think you're learning secrets. But secrets protect you. Leave, or I will sterilize that wreckage and everything inside it. I stared at the flickering projection. I'm not leaving. He vanished. The bridge lights flared once, then failed completely. And behind me, I heard a whisper. Not mechanical. Not alien. Human. Dr. Malkov. I spun. Nothing. Just the sound of metal creaking. Cosmos, who said that? There is no trace of audio communication. My pulse climbed. I backed toward the corridor. Then I saw it. On the far wall, half melted into the ship's surface, was the outline of a body, arms outstretched, eyes wide, mouth frozen mid-scream. Burned into the alloy. My breath caught. This wasn't just a derelict ship. It was a tomb. And something still alive was inside it. I stepped away from the wall, and the outline's eyes moved. Just a twitch. No. No, that wasn't possible. I must be hallucinating. But as I turned to flee, the bridge doors hissed closed behind me. Locked. The console blinked to life again, and a new word scrawled itself across the cracked screen in red. Stay. The word stay pulsed on the cracked console screen like a warning, or an invitation. The letters glowed red, the color of blood, not any Vargathi standard signal. Cosmos, I whispered, force override on the bridge doors. Now. Mechanical actuators fused. Attempting bypass, power routing compromised. Estimated success, 18%. That's not enough. Then the lights flickered, and cut. Total darkness. My breathing grew louder in the vacuum-sealed suit, filling my ears with every heartbeat. I activated my suit's visor light. A narrow beam of light cut through the fog and dust, and something moved at the edge of it. Too fast. Too low. Too silent. I swept the light across the room. Nothing. Cosmos, scan for biological movement. Negative. No life forms detected. Wrong. I'd seen it. Not a trick of the eye, there had been something crawling near the consoles. My gloved hand tightened around the sidearm holstered at my thigh. Standard issue ion burst pistol. Useless if the enemy wasn't mechanical. I took one slow step forward. Metal groaned behind me. Then, whispers. Faint. Garbled. Words in a language I almost understood, Vargathi, but corrupted. Rearranged, twisted. One phrase repeated, echoing through the chamber like a chant. Earth, cease. I backed out of the bridge. The emergency doors had somehow retracted. Not opened. Receded. Like the ship was letting me go. The hallway outside was colder than it had been before. My breath fogged inside the helmet. As I walked, the corridor seemed longer. Warped. Twisted at angles that shouldn't exist in a Vargathi ship design. Their architecture was always clean, logical, symmetrical. This looked grown, like scar tissue. Fused into the walls were remnants of armor. Not scattered. Embedded. Suits half-melted, faces trapped in metal. And each had the same expression, mouths agape, eyes stretched, as if death had come mid-scream. I passed by a sealed door. The screen beside it blinked once, then displayed a single, hand-drawn image. A child's stick figure. Holding a balloon. Drawn in blood. My stomach turned. These soldiers hadn't died in battle. They'd transformed. But into what? Ahead, I found an intact console and initiated the remaining log sequence. The file autoplayed in hologram. Vargathi Tactical Log, Captain Urine Death. Day 5. The troops stopped speaking. All of them. No orders received. Just silence. But they move. They move like they're being pulled. They carve symbols in the walls, faces in their own helmets. They hum songs that aren't ours. Day 6. They say Earth sings to them. They say they can hear it. Even now. Even here. One screamed until he burst every capillary in his face. And he laughed while doing it. Day 7. I finally understand. Earth doesn't defend itself. It reflects. It infects. We tried to conquer madness wearing uniforms and logic. And now we are changing. The log ended. I stared at the recording until it flickered out. Then something thudded above me. Not mechanical. Not random. A pattern. 1, 2. Pause. 1, 2. Pause. Footsteps. I aimed my pistol at the ceiling. Nothing visible. Then. Clang. The metal buckled as something dropped from the vent grid behind me. It stood up slowly. Roughly humanoid. 7 feet tall. No uniform, just shredded remains of a Vargathi exosuit. Its skin was pale, translucent. Veins glowed dim blue. No eyes, but its face turned toward me like it knew exactly where I was. And when it spoke, it did so in perfect, if garbled, English. I remember, stars. Then, noise, then, the song. Who are you? I kept the gun steady, but my hand trembled. Are you part of the crew? It tilted its head. A mimic of curiosity. Part, was. Now. I am Echo. I took a step back. What does that mean? It opened its mouth wider than anatomy should allow. No teeth. No tongue. Only the sound of a child's laughter. Hi. Human. Familiar. It took another step forward. We saw your world. Thought it was dirt. But dirt grows roots. Roots pull down stars. I fired. 3 ion bursts struck its chest. It staggered. Steam rose from the wounds. It looked down. Then back at me. And smiled. I turned and ran. The ship shifted beneath my feet, corridors lengthening, doorways rearranging themselves. It wasn't architecture, it was instinct. The vortical was no longer a vessel. It had become a mind. And I was inside it. Cosmos, I gasped, find me an exit. Now. Attempting spatial remapping. Orientation is unstable. The ship is folding its layout. Then unfold it. I am not dying in a damn maze. Tracking nearest hull breach. 50 meters east. Suggest speed. The thing behind me began running. Fast. I sprinted. Past half-formed rooms. Past walls covered in painted words, some in English, some in Vargathi, some in symbols I didn't recognize but understood. They all said one thing. We tried. I reached the breach. A jagged tear in the hull, emergency field active, atmosphere still holding. I slammed my hand against the beacon and activated my distress tether. Behind me, it stopped. I turned. The creature stood still. It didn't chase me. It pointed. To its head. Then to mine. Then it whispered in a voice that wasn't synthetic. Not alien. My voice. You brought Earth with you. Then it melted, literally collapsed into puddles of luminous gel and bone shards, sizzling as they touched the field line. Cosmos spoke calmly, extraction pod en route. Estimated arrival, 3 minutes. I collapsed to my knees. Breathing hard. Shaking. Alive. But not unchanged. Then, from my helmet's comms, a voice buzzed through. Not Cosmos. Not Earth Command. Vargathi. Now you understand, Doctor. Earth does not conquer planets. It consumes them, without leaving orbit. I warned you. I didn't respond. Because he was right. And we both knew it. I sat in the corner of the breach chamber, knees pulled tight, visor fogged with breath. Outside, the stars drifted like silent witnesses. Inside, the air crackled with quiet dread. The creature's final words echoed in my skull, "You brought Earth with you." He didn't mean the planet. He meant the pattern. The influence. The contagion. And he was right. Cosmos, I said slowly, load the final archive. Everything the ship still holds. No filters. Warning, the AI replied. The last archive is locked behind Class Omega encryption. Access may trigger fleet-wide security protocol. Do it anyway. A moment of silence. Then a soft chime. The command altar rose from the floor, lights spiraling across its cracked surface. The hologram blinked once, then bloomed outward, casting the chamber in flickering gold. The recording was not from the Vargathi. It was from a human. The face that appeared was old. Tired. Scarred. Dressed in a pre-Unity military uniform, Terran defense, long disbanded. Date, July 12, 1981, the man said. Name, General Colton Reyes. Classification, Black Site Omega, Operation Bleed Through. He looked directly into the camera. If you're watching this, then Earth is no longer the secret it used to be. He inhaled. Exhaled slowly. We've known since the late 20th century. About the frequency. About the signal Earth emits, not EM, not gravitational. Something deeper. Something cognitive. We called it baseline entropic harmonics. The rest of the galaxy never had it. But humans? We evolved with it. He paused. Whatever this world is, it isn't natural. It doesn't just grow life. It shapes it. The screen changed, grainy footage of alien species, majestic and terrifying, landing on Earth, only to change. Eyes dilated. Skin patterns shifting. Some wept. Some screamed. Some carved art on cave walls and disappeared into forests. Any species that stays here too long adapts, Reyes continued. But not in the way you'd expect. They stop being themselves. They become human adjacent. Not physically. Psychologically. Emotionally. Even culturally. He leaned in, voice low. Some resisted. Some tried to fight. The Vargathi were the most aggressive. Came in strong. Vanished in 3 days. They didn't die, though. They just dissolved. Into us. Into the pattern. The screen went black. Then lit with one sentence. Earth is a self-protecting mimetic field. I stood in silence. The term spun in my head like a riddle I already understood. Earth didn't need guns. Or shields. Or planetary defenses. It was the weapon. Every poem, every myth, every scarred anthem in every ruined city, each was a node in a global mind. A frequency. And any foreign intelligence that touched it was rewritten. I felt it now. In me. Not infection. Not madness. Recognition. The slow, terrible realization that we weren't fragile. We were dangerous. And that danger was so subtle, so embedded in who we were, we never saw it. No wonder they stayed away. The console flared again. Vargathi. Live. His image flickered, rough and breaking. His face, usually cold and unreadable, was drawn with something new. Dread. You accessed it, he said. I did. Then you know what must happen now. I nodded. You're going to destroy the ship. No. I was. But I've seen too much. He leaned closer. Tell me, Doctor, do you hear the song yet? I hesitated. Then whispered, yes. He looked away for a long time. Then, in a voice no longer that of a commander, we called you barbarians. But it wasn't your weapons. It was your stories. Your grief. Your laughter in chaos. Your defiance in defeat. That's what broke our codes. That's what bent our minds. He glanced over his shoulder. Emergency klaxons flared behind him. They're coming for me now. My own people. To silence this. You'll be next. Then help me, I said quickly. Let me show them. Let me show everyone. He stared, eyes flickering. Then reached for something off-screen. Transmitting full records now. Why? Because, he paused. Even monsters deserve to be understood. And Earth, you're not a backwater. You're a mirror. And we couldn't face ourselves. The feed cut out. Transmission bar, 100% complete. Cosmos spoke. Terran uplink initiated. Data burst encoded and queued for all open grid receivers. Shall I transmit? Yes, I said. And the vorticle began to hum. Not mechanical. Not alien. Human. A low, rising rhythm. Like a heartbeat under the floorboards. Like a chant with no words. A vibration that made my bones ache. Then the walls around me pulsed. The melted bodies. The scarred floors. The fused circuits. They pulsed with me. Cosmos, what's happening? The ship is harmonizing with your neural output. Earth's resonance field has reached critical amplitude. External fleets are withdrawing. I blinked. Withdrawing? Affirmative. Vargathi flagship has just reversed course. No engagement. No fire. No threat. They ran. Again. I returned to the breach, climbing into the emergency pod. Cosmos sealed the hatch. Final log? I asked. Recording. I took a breath, staring down at the red planet below. This is Dr. Lira Malkov. Human. Historian. Witness. I paused. We always wondered why they never came. Why they circled our skies, scanned our oceans, then left. They didn't fear our armies. They feared what we do to armies. What we do to them. I leaned back as the pod disengaged. The ship faded behind me like a nightmare at sunrise. We never had to conquer the stars, I said. We made the stars afraid of us.